Hello everyone, this is Akanksha Mishra, Assistant Professor, Faculty of CS and IT, Kalinga University. In today's lecture, we will discuss about the Module 3, in which we will discuss the coding and testing, in which we will discuss the coding standard and guidelines, testing and different types of testing method available for the software engineering and testing. So, a good software development organization wants their program to be maintained to some well-defined and structured style of the coding called the coding standard. They usually make their own coding standard and the guidelines depending on their suit for their organization based on their types of the software they develop. It is very important for the programmer to maintain the coding standard, otherwise the code will be rejected during the code review. The purpose why we have to follow the coding standard is that a coding standard gives a uniform appearance to the code written by the different engineers. Second, to improve the readability and maintainability of the code to reduce the complexity also. Next one is to help the code to reuse and to help detect the error easily. And next one is to promote the sound programming practical and increase the efficiency of the programmer. Now, when you follow these guidelines, what are the advantages you face? Which is coding guidelines increase the efficiency of your software and reduce the development time. Next one, coding guideline help you to detect error in an early phase so that it can help you reduce that extra cost incurred by the software project. If the coding guidelines are maintained properly, then the software code increase readability and understandability. Thus, it reduces the complexity of the code. It reduces the hidden cost of the developing of the software. So, these are some guidelines for the guidelines and the standard for your software code, which need to be followed by the each and every software developer. Now, when we follow these standards, next phase comes, which is known as a software testing. When your software is created properly and implemented properly, after that it needs to be tested to verify that whether you have created a correct software or not, or whether it is achieving the user requirement or not. For that, we have different types of software testing techniques. Firstly, we want to know what is testing. So testing is finding the error or bug in your software. Testing is a process of evaluating the software or its component, which is intent to find whether it is satisfying the specified requirement or not. A testing is executing a system in order to identify the gap, error, or missing requirement in a contemporary to actual requirement. Now we will discuss about what is testing and what is debugging. These two words are very similar, but the meaning of these two are different. What is testing? Testing involves identifying the bug, error, defect in the software without correcting it. In the testing phase, only we rectify what are the problem, what are the errors, but we do not correct it. But in the debugging phase, it involves identifying, isolating, and fixing the bug. Developers who have coded the software conduct the debugging upon the upcountering to the error to the code. Debugging is a part of white box testing or unit testing. Debugging can be performed in the development phase while conducting the unit testing, or a phase while fixing the report of the bug. These testing are categorized into two categories. One is known as automated and next is known as manual testing. Automated testing is which is known as a test automation, is when a tester writes a script and a user and use another software to test the product. This process involves the automation of a manual process. Automation testing is used to rerun the test scenario that will perform manual quickly and repeatedly. Second is known as a manual testing. A manual testing includes the testing of software manually, so that without using any automated tool or any script in this type of testing, a tester take over a role of end user and test the software to identify the unexpected behavior or a bug. That manual testing is divided into three categories. One is known as a white box testing, black box testing, and third is known as gray box testing. What is white box testing? White box testing is defined in a detailed investigation of integral logic and structure of the software code. White box testing is also known as a glass box testing, open box testing. In order to perform a white box testing, a tester on an application or tester need to know an integral working of a code. A tester need to have a look inside of the source code to find out which unit or which chunk of a code is behave inappropriately. Next is known as a black box testing. A black box testing, without having a proper knowledge of interior working of an application, it is known as a black box testing. A tester is oblivious to the system architecture and does not have access to the source code. Typically, while performing a black box testing, a tester will interact with the system user interface by providing the input and examining the output without knowing how and where these inputs are worked upon. Next is known as the gray box testing. A gray box testing is a technique to test an application with having a limited knowledge of an integral working of an application. In a software testing, the phase is the more you know, the better carry a lot weight while testing an application. Now we'll discuss the types of what are the black box testings are available, which is known as a functional and non-functional testing. In a functional testing, these types of black box testing is based on the specific specification of the software that is to be tested. An application is tested by providing the input and the result are examined that need to confirm the functionality it is whether intended for not. Functional testing of a software is conducted on the complete integrated system to evaluate the system complaints with the specific requirement. Functional testing are categorized into some few more categories. One is known as a unit testing. Unit testing is performed by the developer before the setup is handed over the testing team for the formally execute the test case. Unit testing is performed by the respective developer on the individual unit of source code assigned to area. The developer are tested the data that are different from the test data and quality assurance team. The goal of unit testing is to isolate each part of program and so the individual part are correct in terms of requirement and functionality. Next is known as the integration testing. In integration testing is defined as testing is done after combining the part of application to determine if they functionally correct or not. Integration testing can be done in a two way. One is known as a bottom up integration and second is known as top down integration testing. Next is known as system testing. A system testing is a testing of whole system once. Once all the components are integrated, the application as a whole is tested rigorously to see that whether it meets the specification quality standard or not. These types of testing is performed by specialized testing team. Next is known as acceptance testing. After completion of all the testing, these testing are being completed. This arguably the most important type of testing, as it is conducted by the quality assurance team who will guarantee whether the application meets the intended specification and specifies the client's requirement. The quality assurance team will have a set of pre-written scenario and test cases that will be used to test the application. Now, the next part of your black box testing is non-functional testing. Non-functional testing is based upon the testing of application from the non-functional attributes. The non-functional testing involves the testing of software from the requirement which are non-functional in nature but important, such as performance, security, user interface, etc. Some of the most commonly used non-functional testing are discussed, like performance testing, in which we test the performance of the software, whether it is how it is going to behave when the software is being executed. Next is load testing. Load testing is tested with how much your software is going to handle the load. Next is known as a stress testing. Stress testing, in that phase, we test how much stress your software can handle at a time. And next is known as a usability test, how much your software is being usable. Here we are concluding our topic. Thank you.